Guyana is known for its natural splendor and is a country teeming with potential with its vast natural resources. A country with such beauty and untapped potential is bound to attract attention, some of which may not be favorable to our interests. On this episode of Government in Action, we bring you insight into key details on the Guyana-Venezuela border controversy. Our mighty Essequibo has been the heart of an age-old controversy with Venezuela, which spans over 170 years, beginning in the year 1840, when the British government felt it was necessary to demarcate Guyana's borders. German surveyor Robert Schomburg, on request from the British government, was hired to conduct a survey on the western boundary of the territory. Schomburg's line of demarcation was rejected by Venezuela and sparked a controversy that continued until 1894. In 1899, an arbitral tribunal representing both British Guyana and Venezuela described clearly the boundary between the two countries, resulting in an agreement which presumably put the issue to rest. Though Venezuela honored this agreement for at least half a century, in 1962 the Spanish state announced that she regarded the 1899 award as being null and void. In 1966, the two countries signed a document known as the Geneva Agreement, in which the steps for resolution of the border controversy were detailed and sought to establish a mixed commission of Guyanese and Venezuelan representatives so as to seek satisfactory solutions for the practical settlement of the controversy. It has been 50 years since the signing of the agreement, yet Venezuela remains vigilant in its claims. As such, Guyana has taken the position to appeal to the Secretary-General of the United Nations so that the matter can be resolved once and for all. On a foreign policy panel discussion regarding the border controversy, Minister of Foreign Affairs Mr. Carl Greenidge explained that after years of no results, it is time for international law to take its course.
The Secretary-General has the power to choose a means to resolve the matter if the two sides can't agree. What he has been doing, or what Secretaries-General have been doing since 1982, is to identify persons as representatives of the Secretary-General to speak with the two sides, to facilitate dialogue, to facilitate cooperation, and mechanisms that can eventually eliminate the controversy. In fact, all of those have failed. All have failed. Nothing has come out of it. As a matter of fact, at the end of that process, we have a situation in which Venezuela is occupying parts of Guyana, in which Venezuelan troops have crossed the borders, Venezuelan politicians have crossed the borders, Venezuela's aircraft have overflown Guyana. They've fired military and destructive weapons on Guyanese, including causing death, and they have seized vessels operating in Guyana's EEZ.
Sir Sridhat Ramphal, who among his many posts has served as both Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of State to Guyana during his active years and has played a great many roles in relation to Venezuelan border aggression, gave some insight into the controversy. Commenting on the state of affairs as Guyana continually attempted to protect its territory from Venezuela, Sir Ramphal noted that from the time he became acquainted with the matter in 1965, his experience was that Venezuela was as aggressive in their claims back then as they were in their most recent attempts.
They were particularly strong in the actions that they took. Guyana approached the whole matter with an expectation that with independence, Venezuela would be less obstreperous than they were with the British. They would be more a good neighbor. And Guyana held out the hand of friendship to Venezuela, but it was not to be.
In his post as Minister of State at the time, Sir Ramphal was part of a group including then-President Lyndon Forbes Burnham and foreign ministers of both Great Britain and Venezuela that signed on to the Geneva Agreement.
It's a little remarkable to reflect on the fact that this episode, that was the birth of Guyana, is 50 years old. And Venezuela, over all that time, has cultivated the myth that the Essequibo region was stolen by the British and is really part of Venezuela. So a whole generation of people, of Venezuelans, has grown up in the belief And I think they genuinely do believe, because they've been told this from infancy, that Venezuela is right. Of course, they're wrong, and it has had a serious effect on Guyana's development.
Upon assuming office, His Excellency President David Granger made clear Guyana's position as regards maintaining territorial integrity.
Your government will do everything within its power to secure our borders. We aim at playing a leading role in regional affairs, using our presence on the South American continent and our membership of the Caribbean Community, the Organization of American States, the Union of South American Nations, to re-engage our neighbors and resolve the major regional security and economic challenges which confront us. We shall strengthen our friendly relations with our neighbors, the Federative Republic of Brazil, the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and the Republic of Suriname. We believe that our four neighboring republics together have much to contribute to the security of our national borders, to the stability of this continent, and to the success of the Union of American Nations, and to the happiness of our peoples. We will seek effective international collaboration to sustain economic growth and to preserve international peace. Your government will continue to work towards the adherence to agreements that respect our territorial integrity on all three frontiers, Venezuela, Brazil, and Suriname. We insist on the full implementation of agreements that guarantee our sovereignty.
Most recently, on May 30 of this year, a boat carrying officers of the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission came under fire from the Venezuelan army in the area of Iteringbang on the Cuyuni River. Following the reports, President David Granger said that Guyana is seeking clarity on the events that transpired, but it appears as though an error had been made.
The Chief of Staff of the GDF has been in contact with Venezuelan General about the matter. We have received information that there might have been some error on the part of the Venezuelan National Armed Forces, and the matter is now being investigated. We are working towards a resolution of the controversy. We are trying to find out exactly what occurred, but I wish to assure you that the situation is not deteriorating, and it is not going to degenerate into any confrontation.
Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force, Brigadier General Mark Phillips, explained that he has been in contact with the General of the Venezuelan Armed Forces and has been assured that it is an isolated incident. He stated that the General informed that this was not an act authorized by the High Command of the Venezuelan Armed Forces and that disciplinary actions will be taken against those responsible.
I would like to use this opportunity to allay any fears as to whether or not this is the beginning of a series of aggressive action by the Venezuela. I would say no, this is an isolated incident, and I would want to believe that indeed, as the Venezuelan general promised, they will investigate and corrective action will be taken.
Given that this is an assumed misunderstanding, Brigadier General Phillips stated that persons traveling in that area have nothing to fear. The Chief of Staff also assured that there is adequate GDF deployment along the borders, with its base located in Iteringbang, and several observation posts along the Cuyuni River.
We've been deployed on our borders from the time the GDF was formed, 1965, and more so 1966 until now. We have over 50 years of deployment on our border. Iteringbang is one of our oldest locations, and we're pretty much satisfied with our activities as it relates to the defense of Guyana, and more particularly to define aggression on our frontiers.
And though he admitted that the Venezuelan armed forces far outnumbers that of the GDF, he stated that the army will continue to carry out its mandate to protect Guyana to the best of its ability. He stated too that the GDF soldiers undergo regular training relating to defense and all matters surrounding the security of Guyana.
Training and how you train is determined on what you perceive to be your threats and therefore what you perceive to be your role. Okay, so obviously our training will be geared towards our role on the frontiers and our role in relation to interagency coordination with other government, security and regulatory agencies. Of course, if you're training for role, Guyana, 80% jungle and rivers, therefore a major focus of our training is jungle operations. And we don't only train our troops locally, but we also train with like neighboring countries. For example, we have cooperation with Brazil, right? So we attend their jungle training school. They have instructors in Guyana, and jungle training is, a matter of fact, the main thrust of our training.
The president has in the past outlined a total national defense policy in which he stated that in light of the border controversies, all the elements and instruments of national power need constantly to be employed in order to protect the country's territory. At the annual officers' conference of the GDF in March this year, he also highlighted the importance of the Army in maintaining our territorial integrity.
Venezuela's persistent attempts to redraw maritime map of the Caribbean and to seize large portions of Guyana's land and sea space cannot be dismissed. Guyana's sea and land frontiers are now as much under threat as they have ever been in the past 50 years. Guyana, as a member of the Caribbean community, however, has amply demonstrated its aptitude and its ability to deploy its defense force in support of several military missions over recent years. The Defense Force and our diplomatic service, in the final analysis, are the custodians of Guyana's territorial integrity, political independence, and security. The GDF in particular is entrusted with defense and must be strong enough to undertake the task of defending our motherland. Guyana needs a well-commanded, well-trained, and well-equipped defense force.
Though error may have been the cause of this most recent incident, this occurrence comes at a time when the controversy between Guyana and Venezuela has seemingly resurfaced. In February of this year, while addressing the National Assembly during budget debates, Minister of Foreign Affairs Mr. Carl Greenidge stated that Guyana totally rejects the backhanded attempts of Venezuela to despoil Guyana of her rights. The minister was responding to a statement made to the United Nations by Venezuela, ratifying its rights to the Essequibo.
Venezuela's behavior towards Guyana is a festering wound to peace and development in our region, and an affront to the rule of law in the world. It must be healed by a process of law.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other bodies have sought to sensitize the public on key facts about the border controversy so as to raise public awareness and to reinforce in Guyanese a sense of ownership of our land. Text messages, advertisements, and websites have been established with significant amounts of information about the border controversy. Moreover, on the cusp of Guyana's 50th independence anniversary and the 50th independence of the signing of the Geneva Agreement, holding fast to our territorial rights also becomes a matter of nationhood and cultural preservation. From a cultural perspective, there have also been persons who have attempted to instill that sense of nationhood through a more approachable means. Guyanese calypsonian Mr. Dave Martins is one such figure whose legendary song Not a Blade of Grass has remained relevant due to Venezuela's continued attempts. Speaking on the origin of his song in a Stabroek News article dated July 29, 2012, Mr. Martins explained that the idea was birthed in the 1970s when the border controversy was rife. As the inspiration for the catchy lyrics, Mr. Martins said, "The Indians spoke about his people's love for their land, that they would not give up the river, not one buffalo, not one valley, not even one blade of grass. In a flash it hit me. That was the way to write the border song. It should talk about Guyanese love for Guyana and not mention Venezuela at all." Today, Not a Blade of Grass has become a type of anthem, having been covered by several young Guyanese artists aiming to pay tribute to their country and stand by their responsibility in acknowledging ownership of their land.
No, we ain't giving up no mountain, and we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river, that belong to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one for us, not a blade of grass.
While tensions remain between the two states, it is important that Guyanese stand united in the claim that, like all other parts of the country, the Essequibo is we own. This is Jasmine Payne. Thank you for joining us.